everyone. Good morning. Welcome to Digi Lounge. I'm Beverly Jones, and I will be your event support for today. I just want to take a few moments to remind you of what this virtual space is and give you some virtual housekeeping. Right now, we are on the broadcast mode. In this mode, we have the chat on the right hand side of your screen. And in that, you will be able to post comments, use the emojis, introduce yourself, or just say hello. So, why don't we give that a try? Can we type in the chat, where are you listening in from? And if you can also hear me, hi Amy from thank you. Hi Lara. So there's also an emoji icon on the right hand side. If you click on the thumbs up button, if you can hear and see me okay, that will be great. Let's just give it a try so we can get used to the platform as we go through the day. Thank you so much. All right, we're Cork. Wow, Amy. Hi Jeanette. Okay, well, Sarah from Dublin. Hello. Thank you so much, everyone. So yeah, the next tab that you can see on your right is the participants. In here, you can see the list of the people that are currently in the room. And the final one is the Q&A tab. Please, if you want to ask questions to our speakers, use the Q&A tab so that we can ask them those questions during the Q&A session. During this presentation, we will also be watching a video. And don't worry, because the videos will automatically play on your individual device. And this can happen in a slightly different speed, depending on your internet connection. So just a quick reminder, the networking view, where we were earlier, is a view where you can talk to other attendees. All you need to do in order to have a conversation with them is turn on your camera and microphone on the lower part of the screen. Right now, the option is turned off for everyone because we are on broadcast mode. You can change tables in the networking mode, which we'll be using again later during the break session by double clicking on any of the available tables around you. So if, just a very quick thing, if you're having any trouble, a quick refresh using the top left of your screen would usually solve that. And also you can find me during the day. If you go to participants tab, search Bev Jones and send me a private message, and I will be able to help you throughout the day. So today we will be also sharing some PowerPoint presentations. There's an arrow on the top right of your screen. If you click on that, it would enlarge the person's presentation slide if you want to have a full screen view of those. So again, please, there might be a little bit technical problems later. Don't worry about that. Just be assured that we're here to help you. And just send us a private message, and I hope you all have a good event. So without further ado, I'm going to bring in Mandy and Alison now to kick off today's event. And I hope you all have a good day. Hi, Mandy, over to you.
Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Mandy Daly. I'm from the Irish Neonatal Health Alliance, and along with my Tiny Life colleague, Alison McNulty, we'd like to welcome you all to our annual World Prematurity Day Neonatal Symposium. This year, we're shining a light on our cohort of adult preemies, and each of our speakers this morning will speak to and bring their own unique perspective and expertise to this topic. The INHA would like to acknowledge and thank our sponsors, AstraZeneca, who've provided an educational grant to our organisation to develop this symposium. We'd also encourage you all to post about today's symposium on social media and to use the hashtags that are located to the side of the stage here, in addition to tagging both Tiny Life and the INHA with your posts. I'll just hand over to Alison now for a few more words.
Many thanks, Mandy. Tiny Life are delighted to be joining and partnering with the Irish Neonatal Health Alliance on what is our third symposium. This symposium today is part of a World Prematurity Month, and which culminates next Thursday in World Prematurity Day, where organisations like ourselves and parents, families and healthcare professionals will come together to celebrate World Prematurity Day and raise awareness of the need to change our healthcare systems to support those born prematurely and their families to have better outcomes. We would ask all our delegates, over 300 registered, I have to say, Mandy, not only from across Northern Ireland and Ireland, but Europe and globally as well, to join us today and next Thursday in raising awareness about prematurity and the impact it has on our children. We have a full programme today, Mandy, so I'll pass back to you to introduce our first speaker. Thank you.
Thanks, Alison. So our first speaker this morning is Dr. Suraj Sehgal. She joined the Department of Pediatrics, Division of Neonatology and Perinatal Medicine at McMaster University in 1972, and she's been a professor of pediatrics since 1984. She's currently Professor Emerita at McMaster University, and she continues to run the follow-up clinic as well as her ongoing research. She's internationally recognized for her studies that focus on the quality of life and consequences of having been born extremely prematurely, and she has published extensively on the same. She's the founder of the Adults Born Preterm International Collaboration, a network that facilitates collaboration and sharing of data with investigators interested in the long-term outcomes of this vulnerable population. Dr. Sehgal is the recipient of many prestigious awards. She's received the highest awards from both the Canadian Pediatric Society Distinguished Neonatologist Award in 2005 and the American Pediatric Society's the Virginia Apgard Award 2018 for distinguished contributions to perinatal medicine. She was recognized by her alma mater with the McMaster Faculty of Health Sciences Community of Distinction Award in 2018. Dr. Sehgal has written a book for a lay audience called Preemie Voices that incorporates letters written by former preemies now in their 30s and their research findings on them. And the book is accompanied by a 25-minute video documentary. So we're now going to actually listen to Dr. Sehgal's pre-recorded presentation, and afterwards we'll enter a live Q&A with Dr. Sehgal.
Hello, everyone. I'm sorry to interrupt. I just turned off the video for a moment because some of you are having difficulties playing with the video. So just a few things. For those who are having problem watching the video, please make sure that your VPN are turned off. If you are on a work laptop, it could be that you have some sort of VPN or security protection in there. If you turn it off, you'll be able to watch the video. The other thing, if you can try refreshing your screen, that might help. What I will also do is send you the link to the video on the chat so that those who are having a problem playing it on the platform can try to watch it. So for those who are hearing it perfectly and fine, thank you so much for letting us know. So I will start the video again, and hopefully this works for the others.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sehgal. That was an amazing, comprehensive presentation. We don't have any questions and answers in the Q&A tab. If there's anybody who would like to raise a question, please do so now. You can put it in the general chat and we'll pick it up. I do have one question. With all this data that we've gathered, do you see any bodies pulling it together, any agencies pulling it together and leveraging it to make a difference? And if so, who's doing it and who's coordinating it? It's great to have the data, but I'm just wondering, is there action going forward, leveraging this data?
Right. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Dr. Sehgal.
I don't know what happened to my picture. Never mind. I just tumbled out of bed. Yes, I think the first step is to gather the data. And as I mentioned, we really didn't know what would happen at adulthood. And now that we know, that's the next step. And in the US, we had a conference, NIH conference, funded by NIH, and there were investigators from all over the world. And we discussed the outcome and the future. And we learn a lot from what was in the past. For example, intensive care has changed now, but these children born, we have to wait several years. So we have learned a lot, and we can knowledge now to have some remedial or any other issue, techniques to ameliorate the effects that particularly with mental health problems. We should recognize them. This is a phenotype, behavioral phenotype that we find with inattention, etc.
Mhm.
And so it should start at school age. So this is the next step, and not many people have done such studies.
That's great. Thank you very much. We do have one question from a Dr. Boris Kramer from Germany. He says, congratulations on your talk. He really enjoyed it. He does want to know what the hypothesis is for the increased blood pressure, heart vessels, kidney, and antenatal steroids.
You mean correlation with antenatal steroids?
Yes. So what is the hypothesis for the resulting in increased blood pressure? Was it due to antenatal steroids, kidney, heart vessel? Is there something behind that as to why they have increased blood pressure?
We, of course, many of these conditions that appear, but antenatal steroids have been reported now to have some effect on the mental health, but I'm not clear on whether antenatal steroids have an effect on blood pressure. But several people have started reporting that there are some mental health issues with the use of antenatal steroids, which are really important to use because they save lives, but subsequent problems can emerge.
Okay, thank you. And we have a second question and a third one, I think. The second one is from Rachel Lindsay. And she says, what evidence is there about the types of support that help children overcome the difficulties they face in school and employment?
I'm sorry, the first part was what?
What evidence is there about the types of support that help children? How do we help them overcome their difficulties that they face in school and employment? And
I see. Well, several short-term studies have been done, and if you, particularly by Marie McCormick, that when you take children and give them attention during the formative years, toddler years, that it does have an impact on their outcome, and they have higher IQ and perform better. But again, how long should we continue this intervention? It seems that as they grew older, this was diluted and the effect did not last for a long time. And to do intervention studies, again, is very time consuming and very expensive. And many small studies have been done which shows effect. Particularly, I feel that helping parents seems to be more beneficial than just looking at children. So parents are very important, and some studies have shown that when you have educate parents and support them, that then it leads to better outcome in the premature children in terms of their school performance. But despite everything, school performance is lower and learning difficulties are present, and all we can do is give remedial help.
right, okay,
And that's not often given, which is worrisome.
absolutely. And a further question from Siobhan O'Connor. She's saying, what do we know? Why do adult women who are born prematurely, why do they have higher rates of stillbirth? What is the thinking behind that? Or is there one?
Yes, again, we really don't know. But the premise is that, the organs, when they are born very prematurely, not all organs perform as well, and that the growth of the uterus might be not as good as those in the term population. So these are speculations, but not really definitive. But it's in our population, several of the preemies have had premature children, but many have not. But it is certainly higher. Prematurity rate and stillbirth rate is higher.
Thank you. And one further question from a Victoria Craig. And she asks, in the light of the improvements in neonatal care, such as technology and Curacef, are there new longitudinal studies in progress or in the pipeline?
Yes, the longitudinal studies are in progress in many countries. And the UK, they remarkable job in the Epicure study, which is population based. And again, population based is really important because if you take children born in one institution, it's not really representative of the total population. So the Epicure study is the UK, the EpiPage study in in France. And Australia and New Zealand are doing very good studies longitudinally, looking at all these aspects, including behavior, etc. It's very difficult to have such a broad range because the participants have to spend a day or two to do these studies. And at adulthood, most of them are working, have families, and it's really quite altruistic that they come and participate.
Absolutely. And we have a question from the father of a preterm baby, Paul Ryan. He's wondering if there's any information about whether or not some of the psychological differences in adulthood come from the way that these infants are brought up by traumatized parents who are overprotective.
Yes, that's also a really uh, quite perceptive of him to say that. Uh, yes, parents can be overprotective, and you can't help but be overprotective after what they have been through. And many people have said that it's a traumatic event. Yes, it's considered, you know, they have really remarkable to go through this prematurity for several months. So, yes, they may be traumatized, but these days I think there is a lot of help given to parents compared to the old days. And I'm sure that with support, parents can overcome this. And many parents form a group with other parents and support each other. So, I take my hat off to parents. It's really very traumatic, and I don't, if I put myself in their place, I think I'll be terribly traumatized.
Yeah, great. And we have one final question from Aisling Cunningham. She's saying, following up on Dr. Kramer's question about the increased blood pressure, what are the hypotheses for the increased blood pressure and dysglycemia?
Again, these are observations when we don't know why. The whys will come later, but we never thought that these things would happen, that they would have dysglycemia and high blood pressure. But what we can do now, and it's very important that when children reach adulthood, that when internists pick up our children, that they should know that these problems exist, and they should know the birth weight and gestational age of these children, and be proactive in preventing these high blood pressure and dysglycemia and monitor them. So I think that we have to enlighten people who take our children over and look after them.
Wonderful. And we have another father. This is amazing. We rarely have dads on these sessions. Garrett Keating. He's a father of premature twins, and he like others. He said, "I'm sure he can speak to the significant challenges coping with the difficulties faced by families, and he's wondering if counselling aimed at parents is recommended."
Yes, very much so. And these days, in many institutions, there is counseling, and another thing is to counsel for looking after the sibs who are at home, because they also are traumatized, and not much attention has been given to them. And we've looked at that as well with adult siblings who said, nobody asked us how we feel. And, when we did the study, they said this is the first time somebody has paid attention to us. So it is the whole family dynamics change. And many centers have play groups for children who are siblings and support for parents. And I think that is really crucial that we support parents and not always give. Now, when I'm giving you this talk, I was reluctant, as I told you, about mentioning all these negative aspects. But it's important to know. But parents should not worry so much about the future, because most children do well, but they do need support. And I fully endorse that.
That's brilliant. And we have a question from Emma McElvanny. She are wondering what your thoughts are on the role of infant massage on improving bonding and preventing mental health problems in preemies.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. Uh, when the preemies are sick, of course we cannot do that. Although we do some physiotherapy and some movements in the neonatal unit, but the Natalie Charpak has done a lot of studies on kangaroo care and also massaging. The NIDCAP also started including kangaroo care and massaging in their protocols. So yes, I think it helps in bonding as well. And I think this is something that was in my country, in India, all the children are massaged, and we didn't really think this was, we just thought they needed it. We didn't think this would help them in bonding, etc. So, yes, it's important. Touching, feeling, holding, important for parents as well as siblings. Siblings should be given the opportunity also to do kangaroo care. Just, they can do it for a few minutes.
Absolutely. God, we're having a lot of questions this morning. I'm sorry for taking up some of your time. We've got two more, and then I'll let you go after that.
I'm happy to participate.
Okay, you may regret that statement. We have another question from Dr. Boris Kramer. He says, preterm birth as a risk factor for marriage and relationship is long known. And is there any improvement in this in recent years?
Again, these studies have to be done over time.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are older studies which show not just improvement in relationship, but also disruption.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a higher incidence of divorce in parents with premature children, particularly those who have disabilities. So, yeah, we must improve that. And over time, I'm sure the parents in my cohort, I didn't know what to tell them because I knew nothing about what happens at an older age or even at school age. We didn't know that. But
Mm-hmm.
now that we know, I always, when I discharge children at age 3 on a regular service program, I do tell them these are things to anticipate, to put it in the back burner. And if these issues occur, learning difficulties, they should seek help appropriately and early. So things change over time, and there are studies, but longitudinal studies are very difficult to do.
Yeah. And Jeanette Boylan was interested to know if there have been any studies around maternal mental health in the postnatal period for mums of preemies.
Oh, yes, there are several studies, and many studies have shown that they have, some are severe, like PTSD, and people are following mothers. It's very important to do such studies, and they are being done, and support is given.
Great. And this is just a final comment. It's from Rachel Lindsay. She's saying she's fascinated at your talk and thanks you very much. And she identifies that one of the issues, and this would resonate quite strongly with me as a parent, would be that once the children leave the health visiting system or they fall out of public health follow-up, and in the south of Ireland, the information isn't shared with their GP or their school. So that vital piece of information regarding their preterm birth, what the birth was, whether it was a natural, whether it was a cesarean section, what issues they encountered, doesn't actually follow them through their educational system, their health system later on in life. And there's that disconnect. And I think it's very true. That is what happens. And we as families end up advocating and sometimes being, I would say, just not heard sometimes by the education system and by the health system because it's coming from a family member. And I think it's beholden upon us to ensure that that very important start of life medical information follows that child right throughout their entire life, because it is vitally important. We're beginning to recognize the importance of that. So thank you, Rachel, for that comment. And on that note, I'm going to say thank you very, very much, Dr. Siraj. You are amazing to get out of bed at such a very unhuman hour this hour of the morning to join us and take so many questions. You've been amazing. We really enjoyed your conversation and presentation. And I think you've probably started quite a lot of internal conversation here when you go back to bed. So thank you so much again. And for those of you in the audience, we're going to take a 10-minute comfort break. And there'll be a message maybe about a minute beforehand telling we're going to resume again. So thank you so much for your conversation and for chatting us this morning, guys. We're back in 10 minutes.